Good morning. Happy Soccer Saturday. I'm Rebecca Townsend. I'm a local massage therapist and also soccer coach. Soccer is something that I have a huge passion about, and some of you may already know me from some work I've done covering Indy 11 over the years. And Indy 11 players, this message is particularly for you, but it's also for everyone else in the community, because today I want to talk to you about an important element of cultural literacy around here, which is understanding Kurt Vonnegut. He's one of Indiana's most famous authors and players. Bianca probably brought you to practice some books, Slaughterhouse-Five, and there's even a Spanish one in case you want to use it. And hopefully she told you a little bit about this project. I helped to get it off the ground with a lot of people have been working on it, but we've been going for several months now trying to figure out how to connect the Kurt Vonnegut Memorial Library here in town with a local middle school. It started as a quest to do an essay competition, which we are going to do based on this book, but it also has grown since then. I did an analysis of the local middle schools and found that Harshman Middle School on East 10th Street is one of the most diverse schools. It's got a huge soccer playing population too, but it's got almost equal numbers of white kids, black kids, and Latinos, and they're also very close to the stadium, so they're kind of a great grassroots fan base for you guys if you embrace them. Now, the idea behind the project is that they will all be reading this book, I think beginning in May. And then they're hoping that one of you at least, and I hope at least two, honestly, because it would be nice if you could do this in English and Spanish, will come to the school and have actually read this book so that you can talk about it with them. When it comes to the essay competition, they'll be working on the theme of using literary narrative to overcome adversity in life. And so when you come, maybe you can think about the times you've had to overcome adversity in your own lives, how that relates to building yourself into professional players. It's no cakewalk to get where you are, so you could talk to them about that. And maybe you could talk about how art can play into the ways we cope with our stresses in life. The Eskenazi Health is one of the partners in this project, and they will be kind of backing up with mental health resources because the book is going to bring up some really intense themes. Indiana kids deal with intense themes too. See, we lead the nation in suicidal thoughts among youth, and so we need to equip these kids with ways to deal with the stresses in their lives so that they too can have dreams like growing up to be a writer or a professional soccer player or whatever their passion is. And you can help them in that by showing up prepared, having read the book, and participating. I know it's great to have player appearances where they just see you. It's one thing just to be who you are, and I'm really not asking more than that. But if any of you think reading is cool and appreciate how focusing on something like the written word can help, it would be great if you will just go all in and show up prepared. On that note, I reread the book myself, and I've taken some notes, so I'm just going to pretend like we're in a little book group here right now, and I'd like to just read some things to you from that I found that jumped out of the book. Vonnegut, for those of you who don't know, he's just very unique. He's been translated probably into every language there is, and this is his most famous book. He was a prisoner of war in World War II, and it took him years to process the experiences that he had. We have a lot of sort of glorious war stories about what Americans did in World War II, but one of the things that we're probably not too proud of, and we shouldn't be proud of, is what we did to Dresden, Germany, toward the very end of the war. We were winning, the war was almost over, and while Kurt Vonnegut was imprisoned in a slaughterhouse, the whole city of Dresden was firebombed around him. 135,000 people were killed, which is more than Hiroshima or Nagasaki. So one of the points that, it is Nagasaki. One of the points that Vonnegut makes is that while we are worried about proliferation of nuclear weapons, we can do plenty of damage just with conventional weapons. And another theme that he addresses in this book is how wars tend to be, we glorify them and pretend that they're fought by men, but in reality they're fought by children, and a lot of times poor children. So as depressing as all of this sounds, Vonnegut has a sense of humor about him that makes it digestible. So if you just give yourself some time to get into the book, I think you'll be happy. If I were in book circle with you guys, I would ask for your reaction to the notion that no art is possible without a dance with death. It's kind of provocative, right? The main character's name is Billy Pilgrim, and he becomes unstuck in time, and that's kind of a theme through the book. So it's going to ricochet back between being a prisoner of war and being in an unhappy marriage and dealing with his daughter as he's getting senile. All these different ways he's unstuck in time and just trying to deal. And also in the middle of all this, he gets abducted by aliens, and we'll talk freely about that, which also disturbs his daughter. So it gets a little bit funny. It says Billy is spastic in time, and he told a radio audience he was unstuck after being kidnapped to the planet of Tralfamadore. And one of the most important lessons he learned on Tralfamadore was that all moments of past, present, and future always have existed and always will existed. And that is important to deal with and appreciate the beautiful things in life and ignore the ugly things as quickly as possible. Then comes his tagline, "So it goes." And you'll see how he applies "so it goes" to many things throughout his works. I like the notion of them living like woods creatures when these little guys, before they become prisoners of war, but the rest of their platoon has been killed, they're living like woods creatures, thinking brainlessly with their spinal cords. It would be awful to be like that. And then they joined a river of tens of thousands of humiliated Americans walking toward their camp. And then, unstuck in time, he's making a comment on Tralfamadorian literature, in which they think all time is all time. And they read their books all at once, so it's each clump of signals as an urgent message read all at once. They produce an image of life that is beautiful and surprising and deep. There is no beginning, no middle, no end, no suspense, no morals, no causes, no effects. What we love in our books are the depths of many marvelous moments seen at one time. And that Billy Pilgrim and one of his fellow war buddies found that they both found life meaningless, partly because of what they'd seen in war. One of them had seen a 14-year-old shot, and the other had witnessed Dresden. So they were trying to reinvent themselves in their universe, and they found that science fiction was a big help. One of the more ironic and sad things is trying to clean up after Dresden, seeing the boiled bodies of schoolgirls and thinking about how it was their brothers and fathers that made the candles of butchered human fat that kept the lights on in the prisoners' camp. There's probably too much more here. Well, here's the news of the day. When he wrote about the news of the day back then, the news of the day was about power and sports and anger and death. So you can see how some things never change. Anyways, back to Vonnegut. It is the Year of Vonnegut this year, so I encourage you guys to get involved in all kinds of different ways. The Kurt Vonnegut Memorial Library will be moving on to Mass Ave, very close to Indy 11 Fringe Theater. So check it out. The Night of Vonnegut Gala will be on April 8th, and there will be a party with Lewis Black on April 29th, so check that out. Also at the 924 Gallery on Pennsylvania Avenue, you can see some works of art created by Lewis Black. Now, as a completely random aside, you guys, I've been a writer for my whole life, and I've been going through old journals. So this one is there's an entry from 1996 that I'd like to share with you. September 22nd, 1996. I've played soccer since I was 12. Being that I'm now 22, that's 10 years. Except for the last 2 games, I've played fullback, taking people out, risking life and limb to prevent hearing the sound of that ball hitting the back of the net. Never had I been able to truly appreciate the beauty of that sound, the glory, until tonight, that is. I'd been wandering around as forward, doing nothing really. I'd pulled my groin and warm-ups and I was hurting. But then they sent me that beautiful ball and I took off. I didn't know what was going on, but I was able to control the ball, beat 2 defenders, Carlos was one of them, and chip the goalie. It felt so good. I want to play forward forever. It is the easiest yet most glorified position. No worries though, I'm a defender at heart. Those guys will always get all my respect. It's time to rest. Peace. So see, writing's important to me. I hope it's important to some of you, and I hope that you will help